And hello, everybody, and welcome to Two Guys Talking Sports. I'm Pat McDonald with Radigan Media and Choice 102. He's Tim Burney of the Sports Reports. Week 2 of the football season, the first week in the New York State side of things. And we have a big one to start it off, Troy versus Waverly over at Memorial Stadium. Tim, it's an exciting week. We've been talking about this one for the last few months since the game was announced.
Yeah, it should be a great day for football. The weather looks like it's going to be pretty good. You've got the defending Class 2A PIAA state champion, and then you've got Waverly, who's 2 years removed from a state title, although it's a vastly different team than what they had then. But two programs that have been at the top of their game in the last few years.
Yeah, and it all kicks off on Broad Street on Saturday, Waverly Game Day, a cool event. It got canceled last year because of rain, but weather's looking all right. Knock on wood somewhere. But Waverly Game Day, we'll be down there on the Choice from 10 to noon. The parade of Waverly Fall sports teams and Tioga's football team will join them at noon for that parade. But it kicks off an exciting day of football. Tioga Windsor at 3 o'clock at Memorial Stadium, then Troy Waverly at 6. We'll talk to Tioga coach Nick Aiello in our next episode here, which is going to drop tomorrow, a day after this one releases. So, but in this episode, we're talking to Waverly coach Jason Miller. Always good talking to Coach. He had a lot to say, obviously. He knows the challenge his team's in for, but I know he's really excited about this year's squad, too, for Waverly.
Yeah, I don't think they got a lot from their game against Sayre. Just, Sayre's down. But one thing I can tell you is they're fast. They're big, and they're fast. I mean, it's going to be interesting because, I don't think Waverly's quite as athletic as they were the last 2 years. You lose the kids, the quality of kids they've lost the last years. And I think Waverly's going to be really good this year. But I don't think they're quite as athletic as they have been. And Troy is pretty athletic.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought, Troy, had all those seniors that were really good. And some people came into this year kind of thinking maybe they won't be as good this year. But when you bring back Brennan Gilliland, the best running back and maybe between District 4 and Section 4. You bring back, Mason Smith moving from running back to quarterback, some good linemen there. And then between these two teams, probably the most well-coached teams in the area.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Jim Smith's done a great job in Troy. You look at what he's accomplished and Jason Miller. I mean, winning the state title in either state for both these guys, just incredible accomplishments.
And so now we're going to throw it to our interview with Waverly head coach Jason Miller right after these words from our sponsor, UHS Sports Medicine.
UHS Sports Medicine is your team's partner, keeping you healthy both on and off the field. Learn more at nyuhs.org.
And joining us now here on Two Guys Talking Sports is Waverly head coach Jason Miller. How are we doing, Coach?
Great, Pat. Thank you.
So
Tim, good to see you.
You too.
Yeah. Always good to see you. Let's talk about the preseason and over the summer work. Obviously, you lost some really good players from a year ago. Bring a bunch back, though. What's this group like heading into the season?
Well, we've had a really good off season, going back to the winter in the weight room with a new facility. And, Eric Rick does a great job. He's our strength and conditioning coach. Throughout the summer, we start in the first week of May. And kids have done a great job buying into that. And we've had a really good week and a half of practice here. So I think we're on track. And, I'm just pleased with where we're at.
Yeah, I'm going to take half a step back even further. You bring a lot of kids back from last year, and the way last season ended for you guys, is there a motivating, any added motivation from the way this last season ended for this team?
As a coach, your motivation is, God, we let one slip away, right? And, special teams and we fumbled and turned the ball over in that game. I thought we played really good. It was I thought we played very well in that game, but yet ended up losing it. So I've yet to watch that game film. It hurt. That's how much it hurt. I'm going to have to down the road here, but the kids may feel like it's some kind of intrinsic motivation, but we know we let one slip away, and after the I don't want to take anything away from the kids. They had a great year. We lost 2 games by a total of 4 points. Great football games, and you just got to do everything perfectly right and to win football games, and we just didn't in that game particularly. So we let it go. I mean, that's part of being mentally tough is move on, and our plan is just get back up and try it again.
Before we get in the Troy game, I look at your schedule, and you said to me the other day, well, all our schedules are tough, but you play defending PIAA champion, first NTL school to ever win a state title. You play Maine Enwell, who's won 5 state titles?
Six or seven.
Yeah,
actually.
and they've been in the finals several other times.
Yeah.
Shenango Forks has got a bunch of them, and a bunch of section titles. Has been your nemesis over the years. Mm-hmm. You play all 3 of those guys this year. And then you play UE's a young team that looks like they're going to be pretty solid. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty rough go of it.
It's a great schedule. Class B is always physical in Section 4. Norwich is an up-and-coming team with a lot of young players. John City has a new coach, guy that was on the Maine Enwell staff, so I expect them to do some different things with their athletes, especially running. I expect them to run some options. So, it's a great schedule throughout. And, when you put together a schedule, you want to plan on, maybe a game or two that's just almost beyond reach. You got to play perfectly to win and compete. You got to have 3 or 4 games that, you got to play really good that you should win. And, if you can win, and then, the bottom end of that is, those are games you got to go out and win, right? You're supposed to win and you should win, and then you got to execute and win. So it's a great schedule. We're really fortunate to be opening up with Troy for a lot of reasons. None more than big atmosphere, big game type of atmosphere that gets you prepared for later on in the year. But they do so many things that the teams that we play against do. And that's going to be critical moving down the road and understanding our failures and what success we have against this team.
There's been some fun debates the last couple of years about, Troy versus Waverly 2 years ago, last year. How'd this kind of come about this year?
Well, Jimmy and I always talked like, if we can ever play each other, we should, especially in the last decade. And, we knew that with their 2-year schedule, a bye this particular week, they went all the way down to Dover last year. So as soon as the state pushed back our season a week, and that's what I was waiting for. And I knew that we could get 10 practices in before, because that's what you have to have, state mandates it. Then I called Jimmy right up, and he said, yeah, that's great. Let's go. So, works out for him. He doesn't have to go seeking a game, and we got a really good opener,
You guys lost some tremendous talent, namely, Xavier Watson playing Division I at UConn, and Colson Keithley's playing at a Division III powerhouse, Ithaca. But Troy lost a lot too, with Woodward and Chimix and a bunch of players. But they seem to have quite a bit back this year. I mean, and the team speed looks to be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the 4 horsemen. I mean, they really, with Mason Smith at quarterback and Gilland at tailback and their fullback and their tight end, and 3 starting linemen back, they really have a core of kids. And what makes them unique is, although they have a bunch of new kids, those kids got a lot of playing time. They're not necessarily, second stringers. They probably, in many cases, got more playing time than the beginners. So that's valuable experience that probably is to their advantage going into this game. We do have a core back, guys that have played in a lot of big games, that have a lot of experience. And it's showed in practice. These guys are they're very much in tune with what's going on, and I feel like that part of it is a strength for us. But it's going to be challenging, right? They're I think even with Mason moving to quarterback, that's a new position. I don't care if how good of an athlete you are. There's a lot going on when you're playing quarterback, and so that's new for them, and basically all their other pieces are in place.
Of course, firsthand, being a coach's son has got to help Mason Smith out in the situation.
I mean, I know they're spending a lot of time together going over, and I was interested to see how he threw the ball. He throws the ball very well, and you look at all the halfback toss, type of action touchdowns they had last year. And then watching him throw the ball this year in the scrimmage in the game is very efficient and very accurate, and just has a wonderful touch on it. So he's going to be a great quarterback.
I'm sure even with all that and the trick plays they got, top of your list to stop is Brendan Gilliland, right? Obviously one of the best running backs in the region, and had a huge year last year, and he's even bigger now, I think.
It just makes it so challenging, right? You can't just focus on him. You have to devote, especially with the option, you have got to cover all phases of the option. And that limits you, how many guys. And I don't think there's too many guys around Section 4, District 4 that can tackle him one-on-one. So that's a huge challenge, and you can't really change to adjust to that. You just have to do what you do, and guys got to make plays, and it's going to be situations where in open field, and that's a really tough challenge against him.
And if you key on him, they pop the 250-pound fullback up the middle.
You can't key on him. Yeah. You can't key on him. It's they'll just sting you some other way. So that's what makes them so tough, and the ability to run option multiple ways, and then just flat out come at you, running power game and toss and stuff. They got a lot going on.
Of course, the battles always starts up front, right? And it's been impressive with Troy. They lost Mason Empt a few years ago and didn't miss a beat on the line. Their weight room programs like yours is really good. So how's that stacking up, do you think, when you watch film?
I do think that, if there's any place that kind of matches up, it's there. I think that Troy and Carson on the one side are as good as anybody around. We have a pretty good tight end and fullback that, adds to that dimension. And those three guys have played a lot of football. So I feel good about that. They're going to be challenged. Their guys are good too. So with Reed Palmer and on that side, and Gilliland on that side at outside backer, and their nose guard and Coyle. They're stout up front. But I think you're right. I think that's a real key. Whoever can kind of win that dimension may allow the other team to kind of control the game.
I mentioned him earlier, but you lose Watson and Keithley, two dynamic playmakers on offense for you. How's that changed what you're doing offensively?
Well, I wouldn't say we really have that big play potential. It's every year you go through changes, right? You adapt to your personnel, and you find ways to, I don't want to say be creative, but adapt to your strengths and utilize it. If we're not gonna chuck the ball like we have been, we're gonna throw it if it's necessary, and I don't like getting in that situation. We're gonna throw it if they give us the opportunity to throw it. We're going to rely a little bit more on the tailback and a little bit more on the tight end. And Dalton Davis is a good threat out there. Hogan Shaw, who didn't really play out there, his injury sustained early in the year, but he's a good receiver. Ronan Alt's a good receiver. We got some younger guys that are catching the ball well in practice, and just got to get that game experience.
Who are you looking at running back? Obviously, Cooper Robinson back.
Cooper Robinson, Brance Van Dyke, who came out very late last year, has looked good. Bryce LaForest and Rylan Larson. So I told Tim the other day, I feel like we have pretty good depth there, and I think all four of them are doing a good job. It's usually a single back set, so it's hard to get them all in. But
I've busted your chops for years about the fact you don't throw your tight end very much. Yeah. With Matthias Wells there, is that something we can look maybe a little more for this year?
Well, the other one is Justin Koenig. So and he catches the ball quite well, and if people are aggressive against us, the best way to take advantage of that is a tight end. Now, I ain't going to give you the game plan, but that's always a strength. I think we utilized him in certain games. Utilized Matthias at tight end in certain situations. We felt that it was necessary, but in the past, it was awful easy just to chuck it up to Xavier and find Colson up the seam, and really didn't need to utilize the tight end in the passing game.
Well, as good as he was the third or fourth option a lot of times.
Right.
You talked about earlier these some of your players having a lot of experience now, even some underclassmen that have played a lot of football. Who are the leaders you see on this team this year? Because last couple of years, you lost a lot of leadership.
Yeah, right? Yeah, no doubt. Ben has become a great leader. I think Troy Beeman is a very quiet leader, but he when lights go on, he's a different cat. Plays with a lot of emotion. Matthias is becoming a leader. All these guys that have been around and kind of matured in the program, they just know how to go about their business during practice, that sets an example for the younger kids, and it just trickles down, and every year there's somebody new. There's a lot of kids that just do what they're supposed to do. That's leadership, right? So it doesn't have to be the most vocal guy. It doesn't have to be the guy that that's always got his picture in the paper. Our center, Derek Johnson, is a really solid leader because he works so hard all the time. And to me, that's leadership, just doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, and where you're supposed to do it.
Obviously exciting to think about the atmosphere that's going to be happening Saturday, game day on Broad Street.
Right.
Tioga Windsor will be a big crowd, but then we've seen it the last couple of years. I was down in Harrisburg for Troy. The whole town was down there, all red. You guys are all red.
Yeah.
It was up at Syracuse at the Dome a couple years ago. What's that going to be like Saturday, you think?
I think it's going to be outstanding. I mean, I don't know of any other teams playing in New York this weekend. So not that all of New York will be here watching, but certainly Section 4 will have an interesting game. The atmosphere, that both towns are very supportive of their athletic programs. It's just, it's hard to say what it would feel like and what it's going to feel like, but we've had some big games there, and what makes us unique, I think Troy travels about as good as anybody. So I really recommend, people have been asking me, what time should I get there? I said, well, there's a game before, that's going to draw some interest and take some seats. So you probably ought to get there rather early.
Yeah, I'm guessing some of those fans are going to stick around too, not like some years there. So I've been telling people on the radio for the last 2 weeks, might want to get there before the Tioga game starts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be well attended, and it looks like the weather's going to cooperate. Yeah. So it looks like a beautiful day, and what a great opportunity for all the kids to play in what will be just a fantastic atmosphere that. No, it's a big game, but no implications beyond that, other than pride.
Well, you said no implications. So how do you talk to your kids about this game? Obviously, if it doesn't go your way, it didn't hurt you in the long run.
It's like, I think people focus too much on outcome, that what's the score? What was the final score? This is not coach speak when I say we're going to learn a lot about ourselves. We're going to learn a lot about what we're doing, scheme-wise. We are trying some different things, and this is going to prepare us to play Maine Enwell more than anybody else. They're the team that's probably most like them, and I just feel like there's insight in every outcome, whether you win or lose, and you need to take the positives and correct the negatives, and we're certainly going to find a lot of negatives, in our first game, regardless of our opponent. And so that's something you always look forward to. And I say it every year. It's your greatest growth will come after that first week when you have a game. Yeah, you're gonna learn a lot about where we're at. So that's the most significant part of this for us. Obviously, our goal is to win the game, but beyond that, when it's Sunday morning, we'll start thinking about Windsor.
How difficult is it, considering they're going to have 4 weeks of practice in a game, and you're going to have 10 days of practice?
Well, I don't think about their 4 weeks. I mean, we've been working since May, so I think we're in pretty good shape. Not in game shape. That's always different. But 10 days is challenging. But I'd prefer it this way. I think there's a real incentive to work hard in the summer because you're playing a game in 10 days. Been preparing for this game since February. So It's not like the only thing it has, it's kind of like paralysis by analysis. You see so much that they do, and you're trying to stop everything, and that's probably not great. But we'll be ready to play, and I don't look at their game last week as much of an advantage for them. Their kids didn't get a lot of playing time. They were able to go out and execute, and they had a tough scrimmage. So, I don't think about that too much. I think about it in all the preparation, but the bottom line is we'll be ready to play a football game.
We talked about your schedule earlier, but I just realized the one good thing, you get those 3 at home, right? So talk about the home field advantage you guys have at Waverly.
Well, we feel we have a routine that's very, set. And so I think our kids really enjoy playing at home. We enjoy being in the locker room together. They're jamming out the music, and kids there's a comfort level of being at home. And we appreciate that. As far as I don't really ever believe that, playing at home gives you a necessary advantage. You're playing football, you got to block, you got to tackle, you got to catch. The fans don't help with that at all. So, but it certainly is comfortable, and I think it's, we know the atmosphere at our place is very different than playing at any other place. So that's what they enjoy. There's always a fan base. There's, the band, there's the cheerleaders, there's a video board. So it's, that kind of atmosphere and culture that we've created is what they enjoy. And, we're fortunate to have that. The one thing I thought you were going to ask me, I thought you were going to lead into is unique situation of playing this 0-0 game, having a week off to prepare for your week 1 opponent. So that is really cool for us. I'm really looking forward to
and you get to see your week.
You get a first-hand
look. And they'll have a bye also. But we get it, we get a look right away. They get a look at us, and then to prepare for 2 weeks. So I look at that as similar to what we've been able to do with Troy. And, certainly Troy is a little more difficult to prepare for, but, I expect them to be, they were a good program last year. Windsor was, and we beat them in sectional semis, and probably our best game of the year. We probably played our best in that sectional semi game, which Windsor was a very good team with a very good quarterback and a good running back and so on. So, did
you guys set goals at the beginning of this preseason camp for the whole season, or do you guys just?
Yeah, we always talk about, and that's what's great about this game and every game we play. We're this week 0-0 game is what prepares us for week 11. We have you're talking about, you're trying to get to the postseason, but you can't think about it. It's one game at a time. We really try to focus on that. One of our constant sayings is be where your feet are at. Don't think ahead. Don't think behind. That's what's great. So, we're preparing for week 11, 1 week at a time. And so this is what we do.
Speaking of week 11, I've never been a huge fan of it, but you seem to love it. The fact that the last few years you've played Shenango Forks in the regular season, then you get to play them again this year. If you get back there, you're probably going to end up against Maine Endwell again.
Yeah, I used to think that way. Now I actually I would prefer to play them once now, because we didn't play Forks in the regular season last year, and they showed up in that game and played an entirely different front. And so I would assumed that they would have given us the look that they were going to give us to play us again, right? Not guarantee of that, but we had to do some major adjustments in that game. Thought we did a really good job adjusting. The kids did a great job of executing against an odd front that we had not seen all year. So, and they played it very differently.
Your offense wasn't the problem in that game.
No, it wasn't. So I think that, I think a lot of teams will show their cards. They're going to do what they do. And so I'm kind of changing my mindset in that. I thought, well, we go in one time, it'll be the element of surprise and truly coaching on the go there. But I think it's unique that you get to see him once and hopefully see him again.
That's Waverly coach Jason Miller. Thanks for stopping by, and good luck this Saturday against Troy. Obviously a good challenge. I think the whole town's going to be there. I know I'm going to be there on the radio and looking forward to it. But good luck, and thanks for joining us here on Two Guys Talking Sports.
Hey, fellas, I appreciate everything you do for high school sports. Thank you.
We want to thank Waverly coach Jason Miller for stopping by Two Guys Talking Sports. Good luck to him and his squad this Saturday as they take on the defending PIAA state champs in the Troy Trojans. Tim, when you look at this game, what are the keys for Waverly, you think, going against this Troy squad?
I think tackling Brandon Gilliland. I mean, that's what Coach Miller referred to, and I think he's absolutely right. And the problem is, like we mentioned, you can't key on him because they've got a 245-pound fullback, or something like that. And then they've got a quarterback who can really run the ball in Mason Smith. And he can throw the ball a little bit too. So Waverly's got their hands full with a very, very diverse offense. On the other hand, Jason Miller has had a knack over the years of having his teams prepared for these first games because, like he said, he's got 6 months to delve into these things, and he and Dave Shaw breaking down tape. I think it's going to be competitive. I really do. I'm just not sure that Waverly's got the horses to stay with them. I think I'd take Troy by 10 to 12 points. Yeah, I think like Coach Miller said that you can prepare for the option as much as you want, but you still got to tackle a kid like Gilliland or can't focus on one thing, right? So it's going to be tough, I think, for Waverly to hang the entire game. I think it's going to be close a while. I think that crowd's going to be in it, and for both sides, though, I think it's just going to be a fun day. But yeah, I would think if I was putting a number on it, maybe Troy 31, 17 or 31-21. I think in that 10 to 14 point range, I think Troy's the favorite by. Yeah, the one thing I'll say is over the years, for a lot of years, it's been very difficult to run outside on Waverly. They do a great job of stringing things out, forcing people to the sidelines. So, with that said, maybe Smith keeping the ball or Millard on that fullback dives. But, Waverly's pretty good up the middle.
Yeah.
So with their linebackers and with their, tackles. So, it's going to be an interesting game. It's a chess match, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think it does so often, I think it comes down to the guys up front maybe and two good offensive and defensive lines and good linebackers. So we'll see who comes out on top. I know for one thing, the fans that are showing up are, going to get their money's worth, and we're excited to be there.
And we're going to see a lot of red on
a lot
Saturday.
Of red. Yeah, I've said it all the last couple weeks on Choice 102, and we talked with Coach Miller. Get there early if you want a good seat and want a parking spot over there anywhere close to the stadium. You might want to get there before the Tioga game starts. But if you're not there, you can listen live right here on Choice 102 with me on Saturday. We'll have all the action from Tioga, Windsor, and Troy Waverly. I want to thank our sponsor for Two Guys Talking Sports, UHS Sports Medicine.
UHS Sports Medicine is your team's partner, keeping you healthy both on and off the field. Learn more at nyuhs.org.
That's going to do it for us here on Two Guys Talking Sports. Once again, I want to thank Waverly coach Jason Miller for joining us. In our next episode, we'll talk to Tioga head coach Nick Aiello and get you ready for the rest of this week's action in high school sports. For Tim Burney of the Sports Reports, I'm Pat McDonald from Radigan Media signing off from Two Guys Talking Sports. We'll talk to you next time.